Hi, it's Rachel and Andy again. Following our last YouTube about becoming nomads, this one is about our trip around the island of Bali on a scooter. We've been to Bali many times but have not explored the northern parts. The trip took us about 3.5 weeks. At the end of this YouTube, we'll give you a breakdown of our daily expenses. We started from our base in Sanur with 2 backpacks, Google Maps on the mobile phone with a phone mount on the bike.
I'm an experienced motorcycle rider, having owned and ridden bikes in Australia for quite some time. For this trip I chose a Honda PCX 160 as it's a bit bigger than the average scooter. I rented the scooter from a local guy around the corner for 2.4 million rupees for the 28 days.
We set off early on Friday the 21st of Feb around 7 a.m, as I wanted to miss the heavy traffic on the highway heading north. It was still fairly busy though. In the rush to leave we didn't have the GoPro ready, so I got a little bit of footage on my mobile phone. It took about 45 minutes and we were in Kramis Beach. Kramis Beach is known for its surf. There was a surf comp happening there later that day. Clean black sand beaches. We arrived early, so had breakfast at a great little beachside cafe. It does have one big lovely resort for the wives and girlfriends to stay in while the guys surf all day. The resort has huge spotlights so they can surf at night. We are only booking a day or two ahead, so managed to get a basic room at Blue Coco for one night. It was basic but clean with a nice little pool. In the late afternoon we saw a local watching his flock of ducks, having a great time in the rice paddy. We were ready to move on early the next morning.
The ride to Chandidasa was easier as we were now getting further from Denpasar. We arrived early at the Jung Resort and Spa, and the hotel staff kindly let us store our bags while we went out to find some breakfast. The hotel is a beachfront old-style bungalow accommodation with an outdoor shower. Next to our hotel was a large lily pond that you could walk around. The waterfront of Chandidasa consists of sea walls interspersed with small coarse sand beaches. I like to watch the local fishermen bring the early morning catch in. We think they were catching mackerel. As there wasn't much to do here, one day we hired a driver to take us up to the monkey bar at Belakita for a change of scenery. We enjoyed our peaceful waterfront accommodation here, but having stayed 3 days, it was time to move on to Ahmed.
Again, we got up early to miss the peak hour traffic. There are a lot of heavy trucks that use the main road. I'm a little nervous of the Bali drivers, so we only do about an hour at a time on the bike. We stopped and had breakfast along the way. Way to Ahmed, and we've just stopped for breakfast. There's our backpacks and our helmets. Yeah, this place is so pretty, and we walk down the stairs, highway's up there, and Andy's just going to find someone to get us some breakfast. This is the menu. There you go. Probably have a fried banana and an organic coffee. Beautiful. can see Mount Gung quite clearly from Ahmed. Arrived in Ahmed about 9 a.m. Our room wasn't ready, of course, but they let us use the pool while we waited. A popular place for diving and snorkeling. We went out a couple of times off the beach directly in front of the hotel. We took our own snorkeling goggles with us to Bali. The beaches are pretty clean and the water is very clear. There are local boats that are happy to take you out snorkeling or diving. A very quiet place. It's got everything you need here with spas, chemists, diving schools, bottle shop, supermarket. This was one of my favourite stops.
We set off mid-morning for the Karana Tembok, a luxury resort within the 1 hour riding distance from Ahmed in the region of Gretek. We found this resort on Google Maps and it had a very reasonable price for the night on Agoda, so we decided to go there and ask for a deal at the reception. We missed the entrance to the resort, as you can see. We are riding past it now, so doubled back and found our way in. The staff could not give us a better deal, so I booked it for $47 on Agoda while we stood in the reception area. This was luxury. It's remote and quiet, yet refined. We couldn't believe our luck. The surrounding area is untouched and original, with fishing boats lining the shores of the clean, black, stony beaches. As there were no other options for meals, we didn't mind eating all our meals at the lovely restaurant here.
The next quick stop along the north coast was a bit disappointing. The pool was dirty. Robinson Crusoe vibes here. Our room felt like a treehouse. Clean ocean but no reef. There were a few other warangs around. Found an interesting place for lunch, a Dutch chef with an artist wife. We walked along the beach a bit and found a decent place for dinner, another very quiet area. After breakfast we took our time leaving, after peak hour this time, about 10:30, ready to go and check out the famous Lavina Beach.
This morning we rode through the busy city of Singaraja, which was Bali's original capital. We checked into an older beachside hotel and headed straight for the pool. One day we rode into the main centre of Lavina Beach and were underwhelmed by this beach. The only attraction here appears to be the dolphin tours. Hundreds of boats go out every morning with tourists keen to see dolphins. Because of this, the water smelt like diesel. When we swam here, we could see an oily film on the surface of the water. One day, we rode the scooter up the mountain to explore one of the lesser known waterfalls. The track up to the waterfall was obscured by overgrowth and fallen trees, which made it quite an adventure. But it was worth it to arrive at this secluded spot. After 3 days, we had had enough of Lavina and were ready to move on. We needed a place to stop for the night halfway to Pemuteran Beach. And so we stopped for the night at the Buana Eco Farm. This was a seemingly deserted property with bird aviaries, a few buildings and a pool. After breakfast the next morning, we headed off again.
It was a short 20-minute ride to Pemuteran. Another older style hotel with a lovely pool. 2 nights here. Beach access. This bay has an artificial reef to encourage fish and corals to grow. Installed in 2001, it's the largest coral reef restoration project in Indonesia. So now there are also diving schools here. Local boats go from here to Menjangan Island, which is part of the national park and also very popular for diving and snorkeling. Pemuteran has some good shops and runs. We enjoyed dinner on the beach, nice and quiet. We are still doing our morning walks, watching the sunrise through the morning hazy clouds. On our way to the west coast now, passing below the national park. Trying a different angle with the GoPro.
Our next stop, Malaya, is halfway to Medawi, a surfing destination I was keen to see again as I was there about 14 years ago. The journey to Malaya was a really pleasant ride as we were riding on some decent roads through the national park. There were still some hairy moments though, with trucks loaded up and taking the middle of the road. Or ambulances overtaking dangerously. The road into the Malaya Beach Resort was a narrow lane surrounded by natural vegetation. We were the sole occupants of this 4-room resort, but the staff were friendly and the food was good. You can see across to Java from here. There was a lot of litter on the beach here, and the staff would rake it up and burn it in fire pits. After a peaceful night's sleep, we were ready to hit the road again.
More rice paddies and jungle on the way to Madawi from Malaya. We stopped for coffee in Jembrana as this leg was a little longer. We were only 20 minutes from Madawi when it started to rain. Hoped it would be a shower, but it started to pour. We spotted this open garage and drove the scooter straight in under cover. The 2 local lads working there just gave us a smile and kept on working. It was a good 20 minutes before we could head off again. First and only time we got caught in the rain.
This is what Canggu used to look like.
This little resort was opposite the beach with a nice pool. Really liked this place, but it has 3 mosques close by. Because it was Ramadan, they had all-night prayers, so sleep was difficult. 2 nights here. Madawi is a popular surfing spot. Andy and I both hired a board each and had some fun in the waves. Tried not to crack a rib this time. I loved all the local cows. They have big wooden bells around their necks and you can hear the soft dong, dong in the fields and on the beach. Beaches are pretty clean. Some rubbish washes up on the shores. The surf and the currents are strong. We had dinner on the beach and watched the sunsets. Back on the bike mid-morning and heading south again.
Heading to the village of Balian, and the traffic is getting quite hectic. Thankfully, it's only a 40-minute ride, and we turn off the main road and onto the quiet, narrow road into Balian and the Istana Balian Boutique Hotel Resort.
There it is.
Your destination is on the left.
Balian is a surf destination, with the small village cascading down the hill to the sea. The view, like the surf, is fantastic. But this beach is stony and not so good for swimming. One day we venture inland up the hills to the rice paddy fields that have views to the coast.
Sign.
We are getting homesick for Sanua, so after a relaxing 3-night stay here, we're keen to move on.
Another mid-morning departure, today for Tanalot. We chose this as a stop because Andy hadn't been here before and it's an almost halfway stopover to Sanu. The directions here were through the back streets and not on the main road, which was fine with me. I find that highway pretty scary. So some of the roads are just tracks. Some are pretty rough and steep.
You can do it.
Made it!
Also very scenic through rice paddies and jungle. We stayed just inland from Tanalot, not much around. This is the view from a little place we had dinner next door to our room. Only 2 nights here. Early the next morning, 7 a.m, we rode down to the temple. I wanted to go early and miss all the tourists. The car park was huge. We were first to park in it. Hundreds of shops line the paths to the temple, but because it was 7:30, they were all closed. Lovely. Closer to the cliff edge are also heaps of cafes and restaurants. tide was out, so we were able to walk over to the temple and receive a blessing from the priest for a donation.
Yes.
Ah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Balinese. Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks, offering.
Balinese. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
A little walk around the grounds with the sun coming up. It's lovely and quiet.
We left early to avoid traffic on this final leg back to Sanur, our base in Bali. We chose a route that would skirt the main busy roads of Denpasar by cutting across the north and then south into Sanur. This was the longest leg in our journey around Bali and probably the most varied. From large main roads to rice paddies, and busy lanes, to quieter country roads. The big multi-lane road means we are nearly there. Finally, back in Sanur after 3.5 weeks on the road. And so our costs. Transport averaged at $10 a day, mostly with the bike hire. Food, eating at low cost warungs, $45. Alcohol, mostly beer, and a lot bought from little supermarkets, $15. Accommodation, we tried to cap at $50 a night, so it ended up at $45. And we've got another category that was for massages or luxuries or entry into things, and that averaged out to $5 a day, bringing our total daily expenditure to $120.
Thanks for watching. I hope you found it interesting. Feel free to comment or ask some questions. Our next YouTube will probably be from Italy. Stay tuned.